Hello, hello. So, welcome to, happy Nikolaus Day, first of all, everybody. And we have our Nikolaus here. We have Achim here. We have a special Nikolaus here as a guest
Yeah,
today.
I forgot my hat. I'm so sorry.
Now we're wearing the hat for you. So,
Normally, I should wear reindeer antlers, but I don't. I didn't find them. Haha.
uh,
On, but short change period getting home tonight, right?
Yep.
yeah, so cheers and welcome, Achim.
Hey,
That
thank you for having me
you're
today.
brave
Cheers.
enough to join Alphaweibchen. So that's a very big hello, hello.
Which is really awesome because while we have interviewed men on the podcast, this is the first time we've actually had a guy joining our Facebook Live. So I think that's pretty cool. We're happy to have you here.
Yes, exactly. So, our topic today is, as we announced already, it's about staying young. And so as you hear as our interview partner tonight, so I'm going to ask the very first question to you, Achim. So, how do you stay young?
Well, Peggy, first, first thing I have to say, I wonder why I'm here tonight. So you guys might think I'm old then.
No, 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 no. We think you're a role model. Like
Okay,
an
thank you.
ageless role model, how to forever stay young, no matter how old you are.
Okay, good. Well, staying young, I think it's a good topic, and it fits kind of our current, how to say this, episode and stages of life very well. Well, just look at my background here. This is Chile. I think, one way to stay alive is just look at your lifestyle. Look at all the things you can do. Look all the things you like to do. And you can do, just think about your house. In German, you say K, kind of, right? Kinder, Kirche, Küche. So children, kitchen, church. And you can just wash your car. You can mow your lawn. And the German's all about garbage. If that's what your center of life is, guaranteed you will not be staying young. You
Okay,
will age very, very quickly. Yes.
so question, did you just say the Germans are all about garbage?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Are any Germans listening now? Maybe.
Okay. What happens usually on a Saturday before Christmas in Germany? You go to the recycling center.
Oh,
There's
true.
a huge line of cars. So I think,
Werkstoffhof.
Wertstoffhof, exactly. And exactly before the year ends, it seems to be a passion of the people in this country that they cannot go over Christmas and they cannot enter the new year with too much garbage at home.
No, but it's recycling. It's recycling. It's a very environmental safe
Okay.
procedure.
And of course, if you bring it to the recycling center before Christmas, it's worth more than after Christmas.
Yes,
And
exactly.
it recycles better.
Well,
Anyway, if this becomes your center of life, how can you get to the recycling center on time to get rid of your garbage? I think you have a bit of a trouble.
but
So
yeah,
one pillar I would say of staying live is around lifestyle. And lifestyle is all the things you like to do, all the new experiences you can do. Look at new things. So this is really, I think, one of the cornerstones of staying live.
And that actually
Um,
and that actually reminds me of a quote that I recently saw, and it was from Henry Ford. And what he says is, anyone who keeps learning stays young. Would you agree? Becky, what do you think?
I totally agree. I'm always learning. I mean, I'm learning a lot of things every day about myself. I don't want to learn some of it, but it always gives me a step forward. So, yeah, I totally agree. I agree. So if you learn something new, that at least makes your brain stay young. And if your brain is young, so you feel younger. And I think it's
then
attitude, like what Achim is saying. I think it's all about attitude. And then age is like a number. And there are I read sometimes a few years back. I read this like spiritual books, and then they were writing about people that they used to be like more than 1,000 years old, even. So it's like, I mean, I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if I want to be 1,000 years old. It might look kind of funny,
Don't.
but it's a way of how you look at it. And this was just like an ancient book where they had different way of counting the years of how old someone is. And I think so. We have this, like we say, it's like when you're 60 or 65, like you're old, kind of. But it's that because of your mind, and it has nothing to do with how you really feel, right?
Okay, so if we agree that doing new things and learning new things keeps you young, think back, we're coming to the end of 2020. What new things have you learned this year, Achim?
Well, actually, I did have a few things on my bucket list,
Ah, okay.
which I'm happy to report that I could tick some of them off in 2020. I've been talking about becoming a licensed ski instructor for a very long time. And
Ski instructor.
ski instructor,
Ah,
yes. You know, I've been teaching many kids, my own kids, my stepson and so on, how to ski, but I've never been, how to say, certified to be a ski instructor. And this was one of my big things. I always wanted to become a certified ski instructor. So just before the Corona lockdown, this is something I've done. I went to Canada, I took a few days classes, and now I got my license. I can put it up on the wall at home. And as I said, I'm a certified ski instructor. There
ooh,
are other
nice.
things which always have been kind of interesting, they're of big interest to me. And I really, how to say this, the question is to when you have time, how much importance you give. So this was something in the early of the year. And then later in the year, I finally did my motorboat license, which is again something I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. And then what it also does is kind of a brain test. I think I had to study like for 4 weeks. And you know, it's like studying for getting a driver's license for the car. All these beeps, beep, 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 short, long, 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 and whatever it is, whatever that means. All the different signs you have, right? You have to learn knots. And was a great experience again. Learning something, challenging your brain, and really studying for 4 weeks. I think this helps you also to stay young and just to stay mentally fit as well. So these are two things I did this year. Well, I had a third one, which is learning more Spanish, but I think on that one, I still need to do better next year.
But you also do sports a lot, right? Sorry, Jamie, did I interrupt you? You do lots of sports, right? I mean, you're a ski instructor, so is sports a big part of staying young as well?
So this is a very nice lead-in, Peggy. You know, I talked about garbage and the Germans, and I also realize, you know, with Germans, we like structure. And we Germans usually like, I think, three things in general. It seems to be easy for us to remember a structure with three things. So kind of two we covered already, which I think are part of staying young. One is lifestyle. We talk about what you do, new experiences. The other one is your mindset. So which we just talked about how by learning new things, ski instructor, new languages. And anyway, life is a lifelong learning process, right? And the third pillar, I believe, is your body. Again, you also need to make sure you stay, how do you say this, just healthy,
Yes.
eat healthy.
Yeah.
And, you know, one thing which always kind of puzzles me, especially when I used to travel a lot, how many escalators are there? How many stairs are there? And how many people take the elevator? How many people take the escalator? Even it's only 1 or 2 floors up. That's the easiest exercise you can get. It's kind of free. You can do it anytime you have to basically enter higher in a building. So as I said, mindset important, your body is important, and then I would say lifestyle. So these are my 3 pillars, how I would describe it.
I have a question for everybody, Peggy, Achim, and everybody on Facebook. I'm trying to keep up with the comments there. The other quote that I looked up and wrote down recently was from Anais Nin. And she says, age does not protect you from love, but love, to some extent, protects you from age. Would that be a 4th pillar?
Absolutely, it's a 4th pillar, but it's also part of lifestyle. It's part of mindset as well, isn't it?
That's true. That is true. Being open to love and embracing it and being vulnerable to a certain extent, right? Which is why I think she says that age doesn't protect you from love. You can always get struck by love. But then using that as a way to stay young, I think is super nice.
It's a very good one, I think. Yes, I think.
Yes, love makes you stay. I mean, that's the most important thing. And love to, like, loving your partner, loving your children, and loving life in general. I think love is the very basic thing to live. Actually, if you don't love life, yeah, I think it's kind of hard.
Which is kind of one of those recurring themes we've had, this whole loving life and embracing life, right? And whether it was Paul talking about it in our mindset episode or us chatting about staying young in the last episode, we keep talking about it. It's about being open and going out there and living and really just getting the most out of every day. That's a big part of staying young, which belongs to mindset.
Yeah, and again, I think you asked about sports and fitness and active. That's very important for me. And, we do, as you know, we have a lot of different activities going on. Of course, we go skiing a lot of sports in the mountains, climbing, mountaineering a lot, and then also a lot of summer sports we do. But it's also for me, how to say this, it's just as the sports itself. I think it's just something that also makes me feel good and makes, I would say, life more convenient. And it's just, you have to walk for 100 meters at the airport. You have to put your shoes on and you cannot bend down anymore. This would be so horrifying for me. And that's, I think, just staying active and fit also makes just, for me, life more convenient, comfortable, easier.
And more enjoyable if you're not suffering through everything that you come across. And you see that sometimes the people on the planes that have getting their luggage up above and they're breathing hard, just, moving around. And so, yeah, I think you're right. Being able to get the most out of life means being fit enough to do that. And by the way, Maria's online and she learned how to do a headstand this year.
Oh,
super cool. I mean, as a kid, I could do that, but I don't think I could anymore. And so kudos to you, Maria. Go get them.
Cool.
That's something was never able to manage. Maybe it's something I should put on my list for next year.
Yeah. Well, but regarding sports, Achim, what do you say? I mean, I see lots of people that do sports. They go like jogging in the morning, but then still they're like this verbissene, they're just like running. Don't we have to have lots of love also for our body to do sports that makes us happy and not just like the performance of it? So I think there is a big difference. I mean, I love to do sports also. I'm not as much as you guys, but I do love it. But it's every time I love to kind of like feel my body and it feels good. But then sometimes you see really people where you think, do you really enjoy what you're doing? And I wonder if that, from your perspective as really a sporty person, do you think that has something to do with how successful you are then with the sports?
Well, it's difficult for me to, this kind of answer. I think if I would not enjoy sports, it would be very difficult for me to do it as well. So I think it's easier if you enjoy it. Mm-hmm. If it's just something you have to do and you really don't like it, it must be very difficult. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who can do it. Again, for me, it's the fun factor and it's also to be there. And of course, I'm kind of competitive, and that's just kind of my fun factor as well. Can I run faster? Can I bike faster? And then I basically compete against myself, right? So I get my average pace up by 2 kilometers on the bike. That's what I do. That gives me, that's what I enjoy. That gives me kind of pleasure. That's fun for me.
That's the fun part, yeah.
Yes.
And Peggy, you're absolutely right. I mean, as a certified personal trainer, one of the first things that you learn is to work with your customers to find out what is it that they're going to enjoy doing, because only if you enjoy it, you're really going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And there are things I don't like to do. I had to do yoga for a while. And this is this is actually part of staying young. Yoga, I'm convinced. I read about it.
It's amazing.
It's good. It helps you to stay young, but it's just not something I enjoy. It is. I know it would be good, but because I don't enjoy it, it's really. It's hard for me to get motivated.
Yeah, but I think it's also hard for men, isn't it? I mean, of course, the big yogis, they're
absolutely.
All men.
It's awful for us.
I think it's hard and you're tall. I mean, I know you're really a tall man, and it must be difficult also for your body, right?
And then can you relax? Hell no. I'm just trying to not fall over. How could I be relaxed?
Well, we have to interrupt quickly and have a toast, and we have a call to action to say, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
We want to say, before people have to start heading off into their day. We would love to see people posting photos on your social media accounts, moments when you felt young. What were you doing? How did you look? Something that really reminds you, in that moment, I felt young and I felt good about life. And then tag us in there so we can build a nice little story about people being young, regardless of how old you are. So we would love to see lots of photos.
Yes. Yes. And we're going to do a little contest. We're going to post ours as well right after this, or maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Off Monday motivation.
Exactly. So how about you,
One
Jamie?
thing also,
Oh,
coming back
sorry.
to that, my background here. So, you know, I have adult kids, and we usually spend a lot of time vacation, and we try to go to new places, a bit more adventurous, not just going to like a resort and stay for 2 weeks at the beach. And this is kind of part of staying young too. Adult kids can be challenging, right? And maybe for them it's also somehow payback times. Because when they were young, I taught them skiing. I made them race up the mountains, and they were tired and they were complaining, just let's go, let's go, let's go. And now I think it's payback time for them. Now I'm the one behind. And my son said, Dad, let's go. You can go faster. Let's do another run. You notice, again, for me, it's payback time.
Payback time is cool.
But you spend time with them. It's a different generation. They challenge you. They have different experiences. They have different expectations of life. But that's also something that helps you to really stay connected and to stay alive. I think it's very important. Doing something with my adult kids, I think, is a big component.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's totally true. I can feel that. I did a hiking with my daughters. It was 2 years back, and I'm afraid of heights. so we went this hiking in Austria, and then it was really, up was fine. I didn't look down, so going up was just no problem at all. But then in the middle, I kind of like said, well, I'm not so sure. I think I want to go down again. And then they said, oh no, you can do it. And they really pushed me all the way up, and I finally did it. Because I was too embarrassed to say, no, I want to go down again. Because you're the mother, right, with the kids. But then it was so rewarding, and I was so proud of myself that I did it. And that's like also feeling young, because you're up there and you think, oh yes, and that's cool. And yeah, payback time is great.
Yeah.
Well, and whether it's your kids or somebody else in your life, I think it's important to have those relationships. And we talked about that in the episode too, that connectedness and strong relationships helps to keep us young as well, especially if they're relationships like that they're with people who encourage you to do things that you might not otherwise do, right? I've got a few people like that in my life that put me into positions where I stand there and say, what am I doing here? But then you deal with it and you figure it out. And at the end, you're jumping up and down like a little kid because you did something you didn't think you could. So that's all good.
Yes, and I love those on social media, like on Facebook. They have, once in a while, you see those little films where they have this like a 90-year-old man with his wife. They're dancing, and they're just so happy, and they're moving around. You think, how can these two cute old granny and grandpa, how can they dance like that? But then you can see how they feel really young and happy. And all of a sudden, they're just moving around better than some young guys. And that's all this mindset part. Just really, really cute.
Cool. So I'm just looking in the Facebook comments if we have anything else in there. Oh, we have Greg online, by the way. Greg is actually a basketball coach in the US. And so I'm going to speak for Greg that probably working with all of his athletes who are young adults is probably something that keeps you young too. I mean, I know that I feel that with my students. Every now and then I feel really old compared to my students, but most of the time I feel like they kind of rub off in a good way on me and keep me young. So,
yeah. So I put this thing about mindset also into this conversation. And I think something has to be said about being flexible. Now the question is, how can you train this, and how can you be alert when you're not flexible? And I might also say when you're not tolerant. Okay, and I think once you get to a pattern where you do day in, day out exactly the same thing, I think then you really have to get worried about, is it part of getting old, get up at the same time, have my rhythm until I go to bed. I think this is something I think you really want to watch out. are you able to change plans? And things change, right? And usually young people, of course, something changes, I do it differently, right? And older people, when something happens, oh shit, now I have to change my plan. What do I do now? And so I would just call this whole thing about being flexible and being tolerant. I think also something you really have to watch out for to make sure you don't age and you don't come across as being very old.
Yeah, and that's agility, isn't it? I mean, being flexible and adapting.
Yeah, agility, tolerance, flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think very important. And so again, I think there are so many, little cues in life where you might want to, watch out for them.
This mindset thing, I think actually doesn't really matter if you're old as far as old in age. I think also if you're young, you could be, if you have the kind of mindset where you're not willing to change or adapt change, that can already as a young person kind of make you stay old in your mind.
And you see that, right? I mean, you see 31-year-olds walking around and they come across as being older than the 60-year-old next to them.
Yeah.
Because of that.
That's a mindset, yes.
It's a mindset, and I think, Achim, that's a good point with the flexibility. And when you don't do things and you get stuck in a routine too much, it becomes harder and harder then to break out of that. And that we set our own constraints very often. And I know one thing for me is I love solo travel. But if I don't travel by myself for a certain amount of time, then it's kind of difficult to start again and to go out on my own somewhere into the world and not have anybody to work with and to support me. And that's one of the reasons that I do it, because I don't want to fall into that rut where you're not able to do things that seem a little bit hard at the beginning.
Yeah, and so I guess it's one thing about staying young is also getting out of your comfort zone regularly, right? Yeah. So that's the most important part then.
Absolutely. Guys.
Well, the other thing I'd like, did you have a question? Or do we have a question?
I'm just with my head right now.
Okay. My head is moved a bit too.
I have a fire behind me.
Now, the other thing I'd like to mention as well is this whole thing about staying connected.
Yeah.
And staying connected and staying in touch maybe is a better word, right? Yes, we are all on Facebook. Yes, we are all on Instagram. But how many of us are on TikTok already? How many of us will be on the next wave, right? I know you guys are. And that's with everything, right? And I see then people who cannot even operate a mobile phone, people who cannot even operate a computer. And these are just things I think you just need to make sure you are always at the top of the wave and you're ready to go with what's important, what's new. Because if you don't, you also cannot talk to the other generations anymore, because you have completely different, let's say, backgrounds, different experiences. And it's staying in touch, I think, is a very, very important item as well.
Yeah, and actually, I think this year, as much as we complain about 2020 has shown us how many opportunities we have to look at things totally different, look at it in a different way, and doing things that we're doing, no matter how old we really are, and staying on top of the development and being part of the wave, and I think and also with this situation, it's how you look at it and how you deal with it and what you make of it for yourself.
Well, and I think taking the time to celebrate that as well. So I had a little had to do a jig before I sat down here in front of my computer, because I logged into Spotify and had music in the background, and I had my 2020, the year is wrapped. And it's the Spotify story that they share all of your music stats with you. And two of the ones that they had were that I listened to 449 new artists, and that I listened to 298 genres of music, and 99 of those were new. So, even in a lockdown year, there are ways that you can grow, even if it's just testing new music styles on Spotify. And so looking for those opportunities and trying to stay up to date with where the world is going, I think is really big.
Yeah. Yes. And that's a very nice wrap up actually for Nikolaus Day, I think.
I think so. So I'm going to finish my grapefruit mint Bellini.
My Prosecco with raspberries and orange.
And Achim?
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Nikolaus.
Happy Nikolaus.
everybody. See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.